Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. My name is Joel Cable. I am the Senior Product Manager for Art, Design, and Digital and Entertainment Media here at Pearson. I look after BTEC's levels 2 and 3 across art and design and creative media. So today we'll be talking about art and design specifically and what the level 3 reform impact has on us, and kind of just an update on what's happening because it's quite a complex picture. There's lots changing constantly, and we want to keep you up to date as much as possible. As Nash just said, we will be uploading this presentation to the resources that you can download it directly during this meeting after it's uploaded. So you don't need to take any notes or anything. We'll give you these slides. And along the way, I'll be monitoring the chat. If you've got questions, you're very welcome to put them in the chat, and I will answer them as I can. But if not, you can raise your hand, and I'll look out for that as well. And you can come off mute and ask questions, and we can have a discussion. There will be time at the end for questions and answers as well. So if you've got something that you think you can hold until the end, that's great. We can talk about it at the end. Okay, so I'll kick off. And just also to say that this probably won't take an hour of your time, so you'll be happy to know I probably will be able to give you some time back, but don't hold me to that. So what we're going to be talking about is just the general context of the reforms for those who are unaware of kind of what's been happening and we'll just need a full picture. We'll do that quickly, and then we'll talk about the outcomes of the rapid review, which has taken place this year since the new government came in. Then we'll be talking about the level 3 funding list, and sorry, that should say for art and design there. I've failed to update that. Level 2 update, then the next steps, and then useful links and question and answers at the end. Okay, so first of all, the context. So starting back in 2021 is when government first announced level 3 and below policy, and a new landscape was announced that would affect post-16 education in England only. And it was proposing an academic and a technical pathway alongside T-levels. The academic would be made up of A-levels and AAQs, which were alternative academic qualifications. And then there would be a technical route, which would be qualifications aligned to occupational standards. A schedule of defunding of qualifications, starting with low or no registrations, was then put in place. And then moving on to 2022, criteria was published to develop reform qualifications as AAQs. Cycle 1, and I'll be talking about cycles here just in the next couple of slides. So cycle 1 subject areas and sizes were first published. Cycle 1 subjects I'll talk about in a minute, but they did not include anything to do with art and design. So we were part of cycle 2, wave 4. So we were kind of the last wave of cycle 2 to go through. And obviously that didn't happen yet, so we'll talk about that. But just for the context about cycles, because it does get confusing here. So cycle 1 subjects and areas and sizes were published, and then defunding of the low or no qualifications was then announced. In 2023, cycle 2 subjects and areas and sizes were published. So that included art and design titles. Thank you very much, Nash. I can see that now the materials are available for you to download. So if you want to do that before you leave today, you can do that. And then further defunding was announced. And then AOs awarding organizations were submitted their cycle 1 qualifications for funding approval for levels 2, so level 3 in July and level 2 in November. Then in 2024 last year, cycle 1, level 3 and level 2 qualifications were approved for 2025 start. That happened in April and September. So this year we do have cycle 1 subjects for level 3 and level 2 coming in, and they will continue to go forward. Then there was the general election, and that kind of paused everything. So cycle 2, level 3 and level 2 were paused in June. Then there was a rapid review called, sorry for the background noise here. Then there was a rapid review called in July, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And a curriculum and assessment review was launched in July as well. And that's often referred to as the CAR review. I'm sure many of you have heard about that. That is going to look at curriculum and assessment from primary all the way up to 19-year-old education across both general qualifications, academic and vocational qualifications. So it's huge in scope, and that is ongoing. Launched in July. It will be going until autumn of this year. There should be some interim outcome of that coming up in the spring, they said, so we don't know exactly when that will be, but there will be an interim outcome for the curriculum and assessment review. So that is playing into this reform as well now. And I will hit on this more in just a few minutes. Then in 2020, the 2024 and 25 defunding was reversed in July. So there was some defunding that was announced. Obviously, they've reversed that for anything that hadn't already been defunded. And then outcomes of Wave 4 appeals were announced in November. That didn't really affect art and design. It did affect creative media quite extensively, but it was we won those appeals, so that was good news. We came out of that with all of our qualifications intact. Then just a little note from the new government, the rapid review. It was a focused review of post-16 qualifications reform at level 3 and below, alongside recontracting of T-level qualifications to ensure high-level qualifications continue to be available for learners. So really the rapid review for the Labor government that came in was there to make a quick decision about stability, about ensuring stability for high-quality qualifications and ensuring that those remained in place whilst they do this larger curriculum assessment review. So let's then move forward from this. So the rapid review was the focused review at level post-16, level 3 and below in England. It considered whether funding should be removed from qualifications and from these qualifications and other qualifications due to be defunded in 2025, and it included qualifications that appeared on an overlap with T-level list. Those are the kinds I mentioned before that like creative media qualifications that they saw to overlap with T-levels, and all qualifications at level 3 in cycle 1 subjects that were not approved for funding as an AAQ or technical. The outcome was published in December. The outcomes of that were that, first of all, the appeals for those that were on the overlap list were overturned. So you can see here all the qualifications that we have on that list where the appeal was essentially won and overturned. 540 in diploma in creative media practice, extended diploma creative media practice. None of our art and design qualifications were affected by this overlap with T-levels. We're in a good position in terms of T-levels, whereby the T-levels are very specific in nature, and it's quite obvious that they only cover a very small kind of section of art and design as a subject, because the occupational specialisms within T-levels are ceramics, fashion and textiles. We've got jewelry maker, and we've also got furniture and upholstery. Obviously quite niche, fashion and textiles, obviously being the most, probably the one that you will see most often through art and design. But government does understand that that is not even a fraction of what art and design encompasses as a subject. So they're not seeing substantial overlap between T-levels and art and design qualifications, and that's why we're seeing they're not being picked up for overlap, or they weren't last year by previous government, and hopefully that there shouldn't be any indication that that will change going forward. So I think that's just to say that we're in good position for art and design in terms of the future of having options available in not just T-levels, but also large qualifications as AAQs or whatever they're going to become going forward. So the key outcomes of the rapid review were AAQs and technical qualifications in cycle 1 will continue to be first teach September 2025. So for those that were approved in those subjects, and you can see the subjects at the bottom of the screen here, included applied science, construction, early years, engineering, health and social care, and IT. AAQs that were developed for those were 360 GLH in size. They were approved, and they will continue to go forward for first teach this year. And all RQF BTEC Nationals 180 and 360 GLH qualifications in those subject areas, those Cycle 1 subjects, will remain defunded from 31st July this year, and they'll be replaced by the new AAQs that were approved. The 1 AAQ and 2 A-level study program has been scrapped by the new government, so centers can revert to choosing study programs that are right for their learners. This was a big concern in the previous requirement set out by the DFE under previous government, that once these reforms had gone through, you as centers would have to choose a study program or enforce a study program of 1 AAQ and 2 A levels if you were going to be taking small AAQs. That's no longer the case. That was overturned. So now you can have a study program that can include multiple AAQs or 2 AAQs and 1 A level, and whatever's best for you and your learners. Obviously, putting together study programs with integrity that make sure that there's not significant overlap, so that your learners go away with genuine, skills that encompass a full study program that do not significantly overlap is still down to you. And obviously, when we get closer to new qualifications coming out for art and design, we'll be advising on what a good study program might look like if you're looking at smaller art and design programs or BTECs alongside other BTECs or other vocational or academic qualifications. So we'll be advising on that moving forward. Each sector's funding was reviewed independently as a bespoke funding outcome. So as part of that rapid review, they looked at it through the lens of the T levels, and the T level route that affects us would be creative and design, which includes the craft and design T level and the media broadcast production T level. So when they fed back based on this rapid review, it was through the lens of what overlaps with creative and design. So I'll look at that. We'll look at that in just a minute to make it more clear. Level 2 Cycle 1 will continue to be first each September 2025 as well. So for Level 2. Now let's look at the Level 3 Art and Design outcomes in terms of what's currently funded and how long that's funded. So now, based on that rapid review, we can say with certainty that all these qualifications you see on the screen now are funded up through the academic year 26-27. That includes our certificate in art design, so the RQF Nationals Certificate in Art Design, Extended Certificate, Foundation Diploma, and Diploma, as well as Extended Diploma. And then from our 2019 Creative Practice qualifications, we have the 540 Diploma in Art and Design Practice and Extended Diploma in Art and Design Practice. And then we also have the Level 3 Foundation Diploma in Art and Design and Media Practice. That's our FAD qualification, which also has a Level 4. All of those are funded up through the academic year 26-27. So you've got another 2 years of certainty in terms of new cohorts coming in there. And this is when I was talking about the outcome of this review being through the lens of creative and design, which is the T-level route. This is the outcome that we got. This is all we have for now, basically, from the government in terms of steer for the future. They say for the creative and design route, we will retain funding for all qualifications until at least 2027. In 2027, we expect to remove large qualifications, those with 720 GLH or more, to direct learners to the T levels in this route. We will publish further information about wider reforms in this route in due course, taking into account the recommendation of the Curriculum and Assessment Review. That's the CAR review. Now, when they say they're going to, they would expect to remove large qualifications with 720 GLH or more after 2027, in 2027, don't believe that includes art and design. Because even the previous government was going to allow for large qualifications in art and design to sit alongside the T levels. So we believe that refers a little bit more to media, where they weren't going to allow large qualifications. So I just want to kind of allay fears there for the time being. We don't know exactly what that means. We will find out more in due course this year. But for now, we don't believe that that's a threat to any large art and design qualifications post 2027. Okay, now I've thrown a lot at you there. Maybe I'll pause here just for a moment before I go on to the next slide. Any questions before I move forward on what I've said so far? Okay, great. Go ahead and feel free to pop things in the chat as I go if you've got thoughts. So moving forward, just to reiterate, what will happen from 2026 onward, and will there be further reform of qualifications? So right now we don't know. The highlighted bit at the bottom is basically what's relevant to us now with regards to the reform of other level 3 qualifications, which would include creative qualifications like art and design, and level 2 and below qualifications. Will provide more information on this in due course. That's all they've told us for now. And they've basically hinged a lot on the outcomes of the curriculum and assessment review in autumn. So they're going to be informed by that. Now, what's positive about that is that we've already fed into the curriculum assessment review. Pearson have. We've made specific points about creative assessment, about wanting to relook at the requirements for creative assessments and creative qualifications as reformed qualifications in terms of how much external assessment they require, whether they require any external assessment. We are pushing for another look at that before they plow into full steam ahead. Let's just take what previous government had kind of had put forward as requirements for AAQs. So we want a relook at that, and we want another hard look at large qualifications being required and necessary in this space that are alternatives to the T levels, or that stand alongside the T levels, where T levels currently offer an alternative to us. So, and to us as BTECs, I mean. So we want those BTECs obviously to remain in place as large qualifications, not just smaller qualifications alongside T levels. And we've already fed that into the curriculum assessment review, the importance of that, all the gaps that would be created in a pipeline of talent and different specialist areas should they do away with large qualifications in art and design and try to hinge everything on just T levels or A levels. So like I said, I think very little threat of that for art and design, but we're feeding that into the curriculum and assessment review anyway. So this is just a recap of what we had already developed previous to the election. So we've got these qualifications developed. They paused this development, and now we're waiting for the outcomes of further reforms, what the new government decides to do with this. But I just wanted to remind you of what we do have, and I'll answer your. I see somebody's put a question in the chat. I'll answer that in just a moment here. So currently these are AAQs. We don't know if they're going to go forward as AAQs or not. They may go forward as they are. They may. The new government may take another look at the requirements and the regulations around these and say we're going to make some adjustments. So we may have to adjust these. We may be able to add new titles. We may be able to add different sizes. We don't know at this point. But at the moment, what we have developed are 3 small AAQs, 360 GLH single A level equivalent in art and design practice, in creative media production, and games design and development. So those are 3 extended certificates. And we also developed 2 large AAQs, which are the 1080s 3A level equivalents in art design and creative practice, and another one in creative media practice. So as I said, we've got those kind of in the bank, waiting for what happens with the outcomes of this. The good news, obviously, is in the meantime, we've got certainty until 26, 27 about our current qualifications that you're delivering. Okay, so Helen, you've said with media, is it likely they'll still offer any media qualifications after 2027, or offer both art? We offer both in art and media. So when you say they will still offer media qualifications after 2027, do you mean will the DFE allow large media qualifications after 2027? Is that what you're referring to?
or any, it seemed when you were talking about the media qualifications that you were alluding to the fact that they were all going because it was all part of a T level.
No, sorry, let me reiterate that one more time. I'll go back to this slide. So what they have said is after 2027, they expect to remove large qualifications, 720 GLH or more, not all qualifications. So we definitely have certainty that there will be the smaller size qualifications in media. What we don't have certainty about is the larger one, because of this statement, basically,
Yeah.
and because the
Okay.
previous government, in terms of their AAQ titles for large AAQs, they didn't allow for media there
Yeah.
because they said it overlapped with the T levels too much. So they're only looking at the similar sizes to T levels. So the T level
Yeah.
being a 1200 GLH, they don't want 1080 GLH BTECs to compete with learners going into the T level. And they see the T
Yeah.
level media as more overarching and all encompassing than they do for the art and design, where they can quite clearly see that it's more niche areas. But we've
Okay.
kind of tried to
Thank you.
combat, we've tried to push back against that notion, because we know we run the T level in media and craft
Yeah.
and design, and we know where the gaps are, and we know that's going to alienate quite a few learners if they were forced to take T levels as a large
Yeah.
qualification for media only. We also know that the T levels are not the right type of qualification for all learners, regardless of what specialism they may or may not want to go into. And we also believe that 16-year-olds are not all ready to make a choice as to what specific area of media they may want to go into, or art and
Yeah.
design. So we want to offer them open choice, even if they do want to take a large qualification. That could be a large qualification to find their groove, to find where they fit. So we've fed all that into the curriculum and assessment review, and we're going to continue to push those points with government.
Yeah. I
So I
completely
hope that
agree.
makes
I'm
sense.
on board.
Okay, great. And I hope, if others here agree, that's good to hear. If others disagree, we want to know about that as well. So you're very welcome to reach out to me, speak to me privately if you want to, say it in the chat now if you want to start a discussion. This is all what these events are for, is to talk about this. So moving back to this, you can see that we have developed a large AAQ in creative media practice, even though technically creative media was not one of the titles that previous government allowed as a large AAQ. But we knew going into election that there was a chance that the new government would allow for that. So we developed that as a failsafe. And so we've always wanted to have that creative media practice to take over from the current qualification, which we know is which is widely regarded as a great qualification, as well as the art and design practice qualification. We want direct replacements for those moving into the future, and that's what we've developed. Okay, moving on from that, let's talk about level 2. So the reform of level 2 has been completely paused from first teach. So there were 3 cycles to this. Cycle 1 was first teach September 2025. Those were technical qualifications. You don't need to know about the groups of these different qualifications. There are 7 different groups within level 2 reforms, which basically are different level 2 qualifications for different purposes. Groups 2 through 6 were in construction, education, childcare, engineering, manufacturing, and health and science. Those were technical. Those were developed for First Teach 2025. Cycle 2, First Teach September 2026. Further technical qualifications in groups 2 to 6. All other IFATE occupational routes, including those you see on screen there. Technical progression, which is group 1 to level 3 technical routes submitted for cycle 1. Oops, apologies. This is advancing on me. In digital and engineering. And then academic progression, which is group 7. And those are the qualifications that would be akin to our level 2 skills qualifications, which would be considered academic progression qualifications. They fit into something called group 7. And they lead to level 3 academic routes. Those were submitted in for First Teach September 26 in applied science, health and social care, IT and computing. And then cycle 3, which is what concerns us, would include academic progression group 7 to level 3 academic routes for sport, art design, media, music, performing arts, and production arts. Those will be for first teach September 27. That was the plan. That was the pipeline. That's all been paused. So basically, the only qualifications at level 2 they'll have funding approval removed in 25-26 are those which an awarding organization has told DFE they will be directly replaced by a reformed technical qualification from cycle 1. Doesn't concern us. If you do know people, or if you're co-delivering any of those cycle 1 subjects, you know that basically those cycle 1 subjects that we've got technical replacements for will be defunded, and the technical replacements will come in this September. Everything else about level 2 has been paused. And what that means for us basically at level 2 for post 16 is that we've got these 3 qualifications that are going to remain available for and funded for new starters up to 26-27, just like level 3. That includes our level 2 certificate in art design skills, which is the 180 GLH qualification, the level 2 extended certificate in art design skills, 240 GLH, and the level 2 diploma in art and design skills, which is a 360 GLH qualification. Those are also quite popular. They're really designed following our level 3 art and design practice qualification, and they're the level 2 version of those. They have exactly the same sort of grading criteria, ethos, the structure in terms of its layout of content and the way that feeds into the assessments. It's non-unitized, it's assessment-based, all practical. Sorry, it keeps on advancing on me. And you can see there that the 180 certificate has 2 units, 2 mandatory assessment units that fall out from 1 teaching and learning module. The 240 extended certificate has 3 units that fall out of 2 modules. And then the 360 has 4 assessment units that come from 3 different teaching and learning modules. And those are all really open and flexible. You can see the practical skills areas that those include down the left-hand side. And just like your level 3 art and design practice, for those of you who are delivering that, it's very flexible and open in terms of integrating different practices however you wish. So that's just a little bit about our level 2 offer. So then moving on to next steps. So just a reiteration, basically, DFE have currently paused cycle 2 submissions for level 3 and the cycle 2 and 3 submissions for level 2. The submissions of new level 3 qualifications to be confirmed by DFE later in 2025 following the outcome of the curriculum and assessment review. DFE will open a new cycle 2 for additional level 3 titles in health and social care, applied science, construction, and digital. That will be this spring in March time. For all other sectors, qualifications that need to be retained long-term will be reformed as informed by the curriculum and assessment review, and we will expect to know more later this year around autumn time, with a little bit of a midway outcome for curriculum and assessment review coming in spring that will give us some information, but not the full picture. So we'll know the full picture later this year. And we'll, of course, do more of these events to communicate that to you. Just going to go to our useful links now. We've got Pearson links there for our funding guide and our reform page that will keep you up to date. You can bookmark those, bookmark the reforms page definitely, and you can go back to that anytime that you hear news about reforms to see what the impact is for your qualifications here, BTECs. DFE links there are very handy. That's the outcomes of the review of the qualification reform, qualifications that have funding extended, review of the qualification FAQs, and the reform page for the DFE. Now, this will only take a minute, but I do want to take just a moment to let you guys know about a partner that we've been working with called Create Britain. They're basically setting out to create the LinkedIn for the creative sector just for Britain. They're creating communities around England, around Great Britain, UK, so they can link learners, students, and up-and-coming talent, as well as professionals that are already working in industry, to job opportunities and to industry professionals so that they are aware of one another, basically, through this kind of creative LinkedIn. And I'm just going to play a little 1-minute video for you, and then I'm going to show you just a little bit more about it. Okay, so could you guys hear the audio? I hope you guys got the audio for that, because otherwise it was probably very strange. So Create Britain. So this is just an example of if you do a search for something like animator, you'll come up with, it comes up with 1,319 profiles that are linked to students or emerging animators or professionals who are already animators. And you can go into each one of these, and it has basically a full profile and portfolio. There was no sound. Oh no, that's very upsetting to hear. Sorry about that. I was worried it might not come through. Yeah, there was a really great soundtrack with that. So you can watch it on, if you want to, on your own time. You've got these slides. But basically your learners can start to set up their profiles. And what's really great about this is it links to our curriculum. Yes, there's a link in the presentation to this, so you can go straight to it. Thanks for asking, Jill. So linking to the curriculum about professional practice, about putting yourself forward, about making links to others, about networking, about how you promote yourself. This is all good. This is a good platform basically for some parts of the assessment within our qualifications. So if your learners are looking for a good platform to start to set up their profiles, they can keep them private. They don't need to make them public. You can use this as an assessment tool. They can start to build their portfolio, and then when they're of age and they want to make it public, they can make these public. And what's really nice about it is that you put the qualifications that you've gained on here, and this tracks them. So you can actually go in here and look up learners who've taken BTEC art and design practice, and it will show all learners who've taken that, and you can filter them down to basically your learners and see where they've gone. So it's a nice way, beyond trying to track them on LinkedIn, of really filtering through, who's taken these qualifications and who have I taught, and track them through. So it's kind of great for that, as well as learners starting to build their profiles for when they get older. And it is really aspiring to bring them right in contact with people within their area who are running small businesses, small creative businesses, and larger creative businesses, so they can start to network with one another early on. So just wanted to put that in there.